not a doctor, not a therapist, right? Or a psychiatrist.
But now it's everywhere. You my book hold on now.
Like the other side of the room.
And my life was just put on a hold. Like even my kids. Like I didn't care about nothing and nobody. Because I'm angry. I want to know why my sister is not here.
All the men's love.
Can't call you. Those are the very sad moments. You know, I have to be very clear. You are not exempt from experiencing grief, from experiencing trauma, from having a hard day. My black self. Hi, y'all. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night. Welcome to My Black Self, the podcast. Look, welcome to My Black Self, the podcast. I'm going to do my best for those that are watching. I am using a rain light. I'm in a hotel. I want to wear my glasses. I normally don't wear my glasses during this because they're blue light glasses. So we're going to see how the blue light is reflecting on this with the ring light and all of that extra stuff. So hopefully it's not like crazy. But y'all need to see me, and y'all need to see how good the skin is, and y'all need to see my tan from Puerto Rico the other day. Okay, y'all. So check this out. So y'all know I'm a flight attendant. So I was able to go to Puerto Rico for 12 hours and really just have empanadas. Now I came back with 6, and somebody very important to me only had 1. We're just gonna say I may be addicted to empanadas. Um, I got 2 chicken, 2 beef, and 2 pork. My favorite really was, let's say the pork was good, but I had been there before, so I knew which ones, I knew what to do. A couple things have been going on. I've been very busy. That's why this podcast is late, but I know I have a commitment to y'all, and I know I told y'all that this would be every week. So we're gonna keep it going, late or not. Okay, rain. So what is it? Rain or shine? We coming. Uh, I did a podcast with. I just want to tell y'all something very personal. I did a podcast with Andrea Wise Brown. I love her. She has a podcast, and it is titled "Mental Health is a Lifestyle." And she is a licensed therapist, and she does a lot of mental health talk, which is really good. But we did a podcast on the death of my sister. I was able to like talk about the entire process. And I remember speaking about being the one to pull the plug. And I remember working through that when it happened. And I was very free and able to speak on it. And I told her, I was like, my mom had to go back to the house to check on our grandmother because we were gone all day and on all night pretty much. And my nephew went also because he was just tired of being in the hospital. But that left me to pull the plug because I'm not going to continue to tell the story. This may be the last time I actually tell the story unless I get famous and have to tell it and sit with Oprah. And then it'll be like, I'll tell it again. But like, I don't want to continue to tell y'all the story over and over again. But my aunt was checked in the emergency room downstairs for a broken heart. So it was me, my best friend, her wife, my dad, and my stepmom. And as I looked around the room, or as I look around the room right now, just remembering that day, it was very, very, very personal. I am happy that I was able to be the person that helped my sister transition. Um, I also speak on my sister was already gone when it was time to pull the plug. This wasn't no, okay, pull the plug, this person's still alive. My sister was cold. Um, so there was no other option. It was just, this is your responsibility, so you have to do this. So I'm really glad I was able to do that. But a few days ago, my nephew, we talked, And he was like, I watched the podcast that you did about mommy. And he was like, I didn't know. He was like, I'm sorry for leaving. He was like, I feel kind of guilty. And I was like, why do you feel that way? He was like, because I feel like I should have been there. And I was like, Nazir, no. I said, you don't feel guilty about that. I said, no matter what, I was supposed to pull the plug. I always took care of your mother. I said, honestly, if she was in her right mind and knew she was dying, she probably would have left the responsibility to me. I said, so don't feel bad about that. You know, I think oftentimes we as people, as humans, as grievers, we go down the line and we hear other people speak and we be like, damn, I should have been there. And that is normal. But this piece of hair, but I want to let you know, I just want to let you know very, very quickly that don't feel guilty for not being there. However, it is normal, but don't live with that. It's out of your control. Most of the things we experience as humans are out of our control. We have no control, really. Like we think we have control, but ultimately, like there is a higher power that is in control of our destiny, of the way we walk, of the way we finish the day, of the way we begin the day, if we finish and begin the day. So do your best to not live with guilt. Or and do your best to not let guilt settle because it will come, but don't let it settle and fester and be comfortable and build a house in your spirit. This week, or last week, I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't know. I'm just a mess. But I made it to Baltimore, Maryland, and my good Judy, Elijah, did a show called the Scottsboro Boys. Now, I believe I had heard about the Scottsboro Boys, but I also knew that I had to attend my friend's play. And I didn't want to do too much research on it because I just wanted to be in the present and I wanted to learn and get information from the show. So I found out I was going to be in Baltimore and I called him up and I was like, yo, I'm coming to a show. I make it to the show and first off, I want to give kudos and props to these black men, the black cast, and my friend who played like 20 different characters. He was an assistant, he was a police officer, he was a lawyer. Like he played so many parts, and I knew my friend was talented, but I did not know how talented my friend was. To be able to watch your friend go into so many different places, settings, and go through so many personalities, and then still talk to you afterwards in their with their normal self, I was just like, oh my God, I was blown away. But this play is about the Scottsboro Boys. I wrote it down so I don't mess up. Now, it's 9 boys that were accused of raping 2 white women in 1931. March 25th, to be specific, is when it happened. Um, the day after my birthday. So it's even more personal. And they were traveling from Chattanooga to Memphis on a little freight train. They were called like they were like hoboing, just hopping on, just getting through. So they got stopped by the police, and the white boys said that they saw these guys messing with these women, and one girl planned it out and said, "We're going to tell them that they raped us." They were on trial for years. It took them years. I'm not going to tell y'all too much, but it took them years to get out of jail. And then, so as I'm watching this show, I now they played the racist cops, they played the white cops, so the full cast was black, but they described it to where you knew who was who, what was going on. It was very brilliant. It was a very good show. Um, and when I watch things like that, it is very, very emotional because it reminds you how bad it really was, how bad racism was, how great white people were at getting us killed, getting us lynched, getting us getting us hung, getting us locked up, just like being able for us to really lose a little bit of privilege that we had access to, the little bit of normalcy we had access to, when in reality, like one man was just going to see his mom, one man was going to get a job, like they were on a mission. Like black people, it feels like black people back then just really wanted reasons to smile. We always found simple reasons to smile. Like, let's go, I want to go get this job so I can get this money. I want to go be able to see my mom and just like do basic normal things to survive and be happy. And as I watched that and watched all of those racist encounters, I could not help but remember all of the stories. Excuse me. I couldn't help but remember all of the stories my grandmother told me. Doris Causey Furlow, like my grandmother that did not have a middle name, my grandmother that was born in 1930, my grandmother that did not have a street address, my grandmother that to this day we still don't know where her house was in Lizella, Georgia, my grandmother to this day that spoke about a man that never came back, a man that they took and she never saw him again. And she would cry. A man that, my grandmother that used to get spit on by the white kids when she had to walk to school, but the white kids were able to be bused to school. But also my grandmother that found joy in family and being fed and cooking for her family and taking care of her brothers and sisters and leaving to go to the north to Connecticut to have a new life with her husband and get away from that. I just think this is one of the most beautiful things. And as I was sitting there, I couldn't help but to be so emotional remembering these things. And I talked to Eli and I was like, he was like, "Did you enjoy the show?" I said, "Eli, like I was trying not to cry during the show because everybody played their part so well to the point where like I couldn't help but remember these things that I was told." I said, and what makes it even more crazy is that young kids now, like the young kids that go see these type of shows, really won't hear these type of stories anymore within their families. They won't hear this from their grandmother or their grandpa that had those experiences now because most of those people are gone, like firsthand at least. They may hear them down the bloodline, but they won't hear these stories first on. So I told him, I said, I took it very personal. And like I remember hearing about this story about the Scottsboro Boys, but it was just a beautiful thing, a beautiful show, and a beautiful story to be told. So and then like once some of them got free, I remember one dude drank himself to death, one dude killed himself. It was just because after that, and then life wasn't much better 10 years later, or 20 years later, or 12 years later after that. It I just it's just it hurts that we were really enduring that type of pain and having to deal with that strictly because we got some melanin, like that shit is painful. But I also want to let you know that the Scottsboro Boys is still playing. I'll put some information up. You know how I do. I'll put the information up, but I believe it's showing until the 21st at the ArtsCentric Theater in Baltimore, Maryland. I definitely recommend to go see it. I definitely recommend you buy a ticket. I I recommend. And I'm not sure if y'all are into Broadway or if y'all like shows, but if like my first Broadway show was Tina, because y'all know I'm a Tina fan, and that got me. I knew right then and there that I could do it. And then I saw this other show in Harlem somewhere with my ex-boyfriend, and it was like some nudity. It was a good show too. So the point of this podcast is to not hold on to guilt. Go see a Broadway show. Do something different out of the box. Do something that you never thought you would do and experience life. And with that, I have a flight to catch. Thank you for listening to My Black Self, the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this very, very, very short episode, but it does have meaning. No matter how long or how short my episodes will be, there will always be meaning and there will always be a message. And I really hope that you find it in your heart to let go of the guilt, to let go of the shame that you may be holding on to. And if you are holding on to guilt and shame, maybe you should talk to somebody. That person that you feel guilty towards, let them know. That person that you feel shame, let them know. That person that you want to experience something different with, let them know. You want to go to a Broadway play, do something different. And go to a meaningful show that will inspire you and give you something to talk about and remind you of where we are today. There is a lot happening in the world right now. And I don't want us to go back to how we were back then, but it seems like the rest of the world may want that for us. The rest of America may want that for us specifically. Um, so just make sure you're paying attention. We only have a couple months left towards an election, and I don't want to see the clock turn back. I don't want to see what our ancestors fought for be thrown in the trash. Um, but I do want to let y'all know I will leave the country if I have to. And with that being said, thank you once again for listening to My Black Self, the podcast. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for liking my photos. Thank you for not judging me for not really posting that much on TikTok because I really dislike TikTok. Nothing against it, but it's just so much. It's so much. I gotta go. Very bye. Sad moments. You know, be very clear. You are not exempt from experiencing grief, from experiencing trauma, from having a hard day. My black self.